Hiya, my name is Jinx-it, and welcome to my very first episode of my new series, Don't Jinx It. So in this first episode, I'll basically be explaining what I consider a furry is, and what the furry community is about. Now, if you're new to the furry community, or you're just kinda curious, you'll probably be asking, what even is a furry? Typically, a furry is someone who enjoys anthropomorphic animals. Contrary to the media's representation of furries, being a furry is not a kink or a fetish. In fact, the community as a whole is very creative and inspiring, with its main focus revolving around their love for animals and anthropomorphic characters. There are many ways that people express this, through artwork, story writing, and even as far as creating their own anthropomorphic character and cosplaying as them. I personally admit that before I was a furry, I had no idea what a furry even was, and gave into the media's bad representation of the fandom. But only a couple years ago in 2016, while I was searching the internet for a cosplay group, I stumbled upon a furry group. I was immediately inspired by everyone's fursuits. Being creative myself, the fandom instantly inspired me, and it almost felt surreal that the day after I discovered the fandom, whilst I was on my lunch break, a fursuit walked in. I was so excited I immediately introduced myself, hoping to get a bit more insight into the fandom. The furry I met that day, who's still a very good friend of mine, was Vivian Rainbow Fox. He linked me to a semi-local furry group where I made some amazing friends. And not long after discovering the fandom, I created my first ever fursuit. The furry community is very creative. Most members of the fandom do have their very own furry character or persona. Each persona is unique to the person, and some people will even just have one main character and a bunch of secondary characters. People often express themselves in the community through their character, whether it's role-playing, creating, or buying artwork and more. There's many things that go on as fandom, including conventions. Furry conventions such as Anthrocon, Confuzzled, Midwood Furfest, and many others are great opportunities to not only embrace your furry self, but to also meet other furries, admire the amazing fursuits, support the artists of the community, and so much more. The fandom is so incredibly supportive in many ways. There's always someone willing to help you, whether you're new to the fandom, trying to create a character, or even trying to create your own fursuit. The fandom is heavily supportive regarding LGBTQ, and I've never been in a community so kind towards people expressing themselves and their feelings. It's so heartwarming to see. It's also important to understand that if you're new to the furry fandom, or you're just a little confused, you don't need a fursuit or a persona to be a furry. Lots of furries don't have their own characters or fursuits. They simply support the community. And if you really want a character but you don't know what your character should be, don't worry! Creating your own persona can take a lot of time. I spent years trying to find my persona. I've been through about 4 main characters, claiming each to be my main persona until my recent main persona, Jinx-it. So don't panic about wanting a persona, you'll find yours in your own time. I'll also be creating a video where I explain character design in greater depth very soon. If you also want a fursuit, there's no need to rush. No one's going to think of you as less of a furry without one, and this includes going to conventions and fur meets in general. In fact, I reckon only about 20 to 30% of convention attendees actually have a fursuit. Fursuits can be incredibly expensive, and no one expects you to just have a fursuit. To be honest, those who have a fursuit are often referred to as being very lucky. Even though they've paid a lot of their own money for their suit or put a lot of time into making it, having a fursuit in general can be considered quite the achievement, so don't believe that you need to have a fursuit to be part of the fandom events. Next, I want to discuss how you can be a part of the furry fandom whilst you may not be able to attend meets or conventions. There are so many social media platforms that have groups, chats, forums and more created for the sole purpose of helping furries engage with each other. A few of the platforms that I myself have used and have found very useful are the following. Facebook. Facebook has many groups and pages, and I'll be sure to link some in the description. Furry Amino. An amino app where you can create a profile, post and engage in chats and more. It's a great place to make friends easily. Fur Affinity. It's a fairly old website, but it's a great one for looking at the artwork and creativity produced by the fandom. Discord. There are so many Discord servers where you can join, introduce yourself, and just have fun, whether it's talking in the text channels or even in the voice channels. I'll also leave a link to my server in the description. Telegram. There are many Telegram groups for furries to join and just chat, roleplay and more. And that's only a few. I'm sure there are so many more, so feel free to recommend any in the comments and leave links to your own furry Telegram and Discord servers. I think that's about all for this episode. In my next episode, I'll be explaining more in depth about what a persona is and means, as well as some key tips to character design and what I consider are the do's and don'ts to creating your own furry character. For this episode's featured artist, I'd like to feature Mute Studios. They do incredible digital artwork and own the Smiling Dragon species. She works very hard doing what she does, and she deserves more appreciation for her work. so go ahead and follow her social media. There will also be direct links in the description. I'd also finally like to thank my patrons for supporting me. It honestly means so much to have your support, and if you'd also like to support me, there'll be a link to my Patreon in the description. I'm hoping to add more tiers to it soon, with even more rewards. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.